same as promiscuity in this song. We look down upon promiscuity. However, in birds it's just a necessary part of a bigger generational cycle. A group of researchers decided to study both the cause of promiscuity as well as its outcomes in 267 different bird species. A previous theory stated that low promiscuity in invertebrate species often led to high intergroup relatedness, meaning that they had high genetic similarity. These high relatedness in turn led to cooperative breeding habits within the group. Cooperative breeding simply means that the entire family helps to raise offspring rather than just the mother. As for vertebrates, such as ourselves, cooperative breeding even happens among non-relatives, and promiscuity levels are the highest of any species. These groups of researchers decided to set out to prove that promiscuity levels explains the transition to and from cooperative societies, not only in invertebrates, but also in vertebrate species such as birds.
The cycle starts with monogamy. Females are driven to a state of monogamy when they realize that staying with the family instead of going out and roaming the streets is better. Monogamy is defined as mothers with only one mate, which results in less offspring being born overall. The mother will tend to stay with its offspring to pass on its genes to the next generation. Kin theory is shown when social actions are selected because the effects are positive for those in the community. This kin selection theory creates a very tight group of birds and leads to cooperative breeding.
Cooperative breeding is when more than two organisms of the same species provide care to the young. There are two different types of cooperative breeding. The first is when non-breeding organisms or helpers help the parent protect the young, but the helpers are not parents of any of the young. And the second is where helpers have some sort of shared parentage of the offspring. Cooperative breeders can exhibit shared maternity, paternity, or both. Cooperative breeding raises promiscuity rates because the helpers release females from needing a male to help her raise her young. This releases the mother from any moral obligation to that father, and she is then allowed to mate with many partners. This increases the population of the species as well as the promiscuity rates.
So now that you learned that cooperative breeding leads to high promiscuity, guess what? Now it goes back to the opposite of cooperative breeding. Why, you may ask? Well, first, imagine a medium level of promiscuity. The variation between organisms obviously increases as females breed with more birds. Here, with the high variety, groups of organisms that have stuff in common will naturally be grouped together. This is called kin discrimination. But as organisms become more and more promiscuous, do they have relatives? No! There isn't anyone they are really close to. And if organisms aren't really close to other relatives, helpers do not exist anymore. Then, they are forced to independently breed.
Independent breeders are selfish and pursue their own interests. This is when the cycle goes back to monogamy. The results of researcher studies stated that promiscuity is a key factor in transition to cooperative societies, but it is also a key factor in the return to non-cooperative societies. The cycle of evolutionary transition connects independent breeding to cooperative breeding through promiscuity rate, which directly change intergroup relatedness. This theory, thought only to be true for invertebrates, was proven through this research to also apply for vertebrates.